Okay, the MTL loader. The MTL is material information used by an OBJ file. You can set the colors, specular, emissive, alpha, smoothness, image maps, and their coordinates. Since it's a meshPhongMaterial by default, we can only set properties affecting the meshPhongMaterial. You could edit the source code of the MTL loader if you wanted something else. Okay, so let's grab the code and see how to use the MTL loader. Server client TS. Okay, in server TS, I have a new one, MTL loader there, points to loaders, MTL loader.js, and client, MTL loader, JSM loaders, MTL loader. MTL stands for material. Okay, so I've deleted the material that we've been using in other videos, and we're going to use the MTL loader now. In the previous video, we looked at the OBJ loader. That's pretty much that section there. So what I've done, the MTL loader is very similar. It has a load method with several arguments, load URL. So the URL being from the perspective of the client in the browser. The onload callback here, which is this section. Then there's a progress event callback and an error callback if you want. Much the same as what we've got here in the OBJ loader load. There's the URL, what to do when it's loaded, the progress callback and the error callback. Just so that you know, you don't need to use these things. These are optional. Null would just be null like that, or even like so. But the required arguments for both the MTL loader and the OBJ loader is the URL and what to do once it's loaded. Okay, so when the MTL loader finishes loading, it gives you a MTL loader material creator. We don't have to be too concerned about the inner details of that. What we want to do next is materials.preload so that they're all in memory. Because the next line, we will load our OBJ, and with our OBJ loader, we set its materials to be the materials that we've just now got. Then obj loader.load, our model being our monkey. So here we're loading the MTL file, the material file that we created when we created our monkey in Blender. Then we're loading the OBJ, which will assign the material that it defines in that. So this is a default MTL file created by Blender. Now Blender and Three.js are different systems. Different people wrote them with different purposes. So an OBJ and MTL were written by different people, once again, with different purposes. So not everything inside an MTL is supported in Three.js, but all the important things are, and I'll demonstrate those. So with our file, the way it is, let's test it. Okay, so that's the monkey that we've seen so far, but this time is using the material from the MTL. So if we go into Blender and we just move this to the side a little, down the bottom here we have this material properties. Click new. We can now start using the Blender UI to change some of the properties. Now there's a lot of properties here. Now only some of these will be transferred across to Three.js because by default the OBJ loader and the MTL loader will be using a meshPhongMaterial. So we'll have base color here, which is also known as the diffuse color, which is the color that you're most intuitively would say was a color. So let's make our monkey, let's make it a sort of a green color like that. And then if we just change our viewport shading up there to be rendered, we can sort of see it. Now that's base color. If we save that, export to OBJ, save it as monkey OBJ. Look at the MTL. The diffuse property has been changed. This is RGB 0.8, 0.4, 0.8, 0.4. That's the diffuse property. And if we refresh, there we go. We have a green monkey with a color that was set inside Blender. Because it's a meshPhongMaterial, there are other things we can set. We can set there's already some specular on there. Let's modify the specular. Just down here, specular. Can't really see the effect in Blender too much. I'll just move the light. So press 7 to look down, zoom out. That's the light there. I'm going to position it similar to how I've got it in my Three.js scene. So press G to move it along there. Position it about there. Press 1 on the numeric keyboard to look forward. Press G again and we'll just move it down. That closely resembles the position of the light in my Three.js scene. So we can now see with the monkey selected, the specular having some kind of effect. Let's turn specular down and export, save and refresh. There we go, no specular. I'm going to turn specular right up. There we go. The next one we can change is emission here. Let's create an emissive color, which is kind of at the opposite end of the color wheel there. And bring it down to about halfway so we get some red and some green. Okay, let's export that and refresh. Okay, it's now red emissive and the green with specular. We can also set the alpha. So just here we have alpha. Let's change to about halfway. File, export, OBJ. There we go, there's a half alpha monkey head there. We can also change the shading. Right now it's flat shaded. So up here in Blender, object, shade smooth there. Okay. File, export, wave font OBJ, refresh. There we go, smooth shaded monkey head. It's looking good. So that's the MTL file there that Blender is creating alongside the OBJ that describes those things. And we've just used Blender to create that MTL file. And inside our client TS, our MTL loader that loads it. And once it's finished, it creates this material creator here. We then create the OBJ loader. We load our OBJ, and then with the object, we add it to the scene. Like I also said at the beginning, we can also do image maps and their coordinates. So let's create another monkey that uses the grid texture. So file, new, let's delete the default cube, shift A to create a new monkey. Okay, so over here on the left, we go down to this material properties. And here for new, we scroll down, and where this base color is, there's a little circle there. Click that, click image texture. Now we open an image texture, and we'll open something that we've been using already, the grid.png. Let's open that. And up here, select rendered shading. Okay, so that's now using the image mapped onto the monkey's head. Okay, so let's export that. File, export OBJ. And this time I'm going to call it monkey textured. Export. And inside the script, I'm going to copy this section. And I'm going to load monkey textured MTL, monkey textured OBJ, and set its position. Object.position.x equals 2. Try that. F5. There we go. 2 monkeys. One's with alpha and some color, and the other one is with a texture. And that's very quickly how to use the MTL loader. And the MTL loader is used with the OBJ loader.